If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Counter Racist Code Show, Mr. Neely Fuller's Counter Racist Code Show. Good morning again, and I am Mr. Bobby. Along with me is Gate, and we are happy to be with you this morning, being the 11th November the 4th, 2025, which is election day across this continent, or rather across this nation, commonly referred to as the United States. It's a opportunity for you to go out and vote and make your opinions known. If you do not do that, then really you have no right to complain about anything because you are accepting the status quo. But if you want something to say, then you do it right now through voting. Anyway, let me get some housekeeping items out of the way for this morning. These are usual, you've heard these before, but you can support and promote the show by hitting the like button and the share button. Now, to watch the show live, go to YouTube at Produce Justice. You can go to Facebook and Instagram at Produce Justice, Neely Fuller Jr., and you can also watch the show live at producejustice.com. By the way, a replay of the show is available immediately on all platforms. To get the show to share your thoughts, click on the link in the feed and you will be prompted on what to do next. You can also find the instructions on the website at producejustice.com. Also, you can feel free to read a passage from one of Mr. Fuller's books on air for discussion. Now, to contact us off of the air, send your questions or comments to contact at producejustice.com. That's contact at producejustice.com. And to order the books, go to producejustice.com. There are many that click on or are aware of the program. I know I've been soliciting for viewership and to listen to the program, and I get some names on there. A lady that I go to the brick and mortar to worship with named Miss Geneva, she asked me about that Sunday, how do I get the program? And I told her the easiest way is to go to producejustice.com every Tuesday from 9 until 10 a.m. So, Miss Geneva, if you've done that, if you're listening, hello. Okay, with that being out the way, we're going to discuss elections and voting. And let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Gate. Gate, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Thank you. I am still learning. And Billy, we should all be still learning. Don't ever, 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 ever stop learning. As long as you're on this earth, keep learning. We have an exciting show. We're glad to be back. We took a little hiatus there for a couple of weeks, but we're back. And thought it'd be nice to come back on this particular day. As Mr. Bobby stated, it is election day on many areas across the United States. I know there's a hot contest right up the street in the state of Virginia. Boy, politics can get down and dirty. And matter of fact, this elections and voting has actually turned quite a few people off. Some people just say, look, I don't believe in that voting. I don't do that. Well, I must say, I'll just get that out of the way really early. That's not my thinking. And so we're going to talk about voting, but I am going to, like I said, people have a right to their own opinions. We call it VGQ. But when you're talking about something as game changing as voting, then I think we need to have a discussion and let people air out their opinions and how do you feel about this matter. So what I'm going to first start out by saying that voting is a tool. It's a means to an end. And I think many things in life, people get confused with means. I mean, how you do a certain thing and the end result or the objective. So when you frame voting and elections as an end, as an objective, then you're missing the point. The end and objective is justice. It's empowerment. It's equality. So how you get there are different ways to do it. Voting happens to be one of those. So what is it about voting that turns people off? Well, one thing, the system, anything that you do in this system of racism has been tainted. You have gerrymandering, you have voter suppression, you have Jim Crow laws, electoral college. This can dilute the power of the vote that you do decide to cast. So that could be a turnoff to people. Then you got the money issue. There's so much money in politics and voting. And when you get down to it, most of the voting and elections ends up serving corporate interests and the people in power. Other thing that turn people off is slow. I mean, justice demands quick change. We want to see something tomorrow, whereas the electoral process is slow. It meanders along. You got all this compromising, and you put a bill in through, and you 3 or 4 years before you actually see anything. That can lead people to believe that it didn't work. So by the time the election cycle comes around again, they're ready to throw the people out because the process just takes too long. And then there's this history. History has shown that blacks and non-whites and people of color have voted, but they felt betrayed. They felt, look, I put you in here to do this and nothing happened. So I get it. While some people may say, I'm not going to vote because nothing's going to happen. And even Mr. Fuller addressed voting in his book, the United Independent Counter-Racist Code, in the 2016 edition on page 242 and 243. So he put it in the form of a question. Okay, in his book he said, what are some of the best ways to keep learning how to counteract and refine white supremacist practices as they use newer, more confusing, and or more seductive methods of mistreating non-white people through the pleasant or less painful deception? So what he did, he made a list of things that people might do to give people the appearance that things are improving, while at the same time refining white supremacy and racism and making people think that they're trying to end it. And he gave he said, people play games with so-called voting systems, and they do so in a way to cause victims to think that the non-white people have constructive power. These voting systems are designed to deceptively allow non-white people to choose between 2 or more forms of mistreatment. So Mr. Fuller, he said that like many other things, voting is one of those tools that the racists might use to have you believe that you're doing something when indeed it's part of the subterfuge. Now, and I'm going to put a little teaser in here. you're going to be surprised. I'm going to lay down this case. You're going to be surprised when we get some of Mr. Fuller's words. When he actually, somebody asked him, Mr. Fuller, what do you think about voting? Are you actually going to vote? Now, I'm going to frame, as I say, we're going to be framing a lot of this through the lens of the fact that voting is a tool. And the tool is to do what? It's the means to an end to get justice. Let's remind everybody what justice is, particularly from the words of Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. himself.
What is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
All right, now think about that. So I'm building a case here. Some people are turned off by the voting apparatus, by the elections. I'm saying again, if you look at it as a end and not a means, we need tools to help eliminate this system of racism, white supremacy. And Mr. Bob, let me get your words before I go on to my next.
I mean, your question is very profound. Is voting in elections logical? Well, if you follow the logic, you have to understand that what we are up against, which is racism, white supremacy, you have to attack it in a logical way. That means that since voting is election is on the table, then you have to use all of your resources, all of your knowledge to get your uh, say, or in this case, vote out. That way, you can begin to affect what's going on. Yes, you are correct, Gate, when you say it is a slow process, and it does look like sometimes it's not being done. But because you are involved, you can affect the change by being what? First, by being truthful, always tell the truth, and being logical in your decisions. Because as you said, Gate, they are tricky. Those that are supposedly in power, and they do things to you or to us to affect us. So, yes, get involved and go and vote and keep on voting and implore the young people to do the same thing by your example.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Okay, now to people who are still sitting on the fence, I'm going to put a question to you. Let's just say you've checked out of the system. Okay, you voted, nothing happened. There's money in the politics. There's voter suppression. There's gerrymandering. There's all of these distractions. There's all of this hypocrisy. So I'm going to ask you, well, what are you doing? If you're not voting, what are you doing? I'm telling you right now, if there was something else that could get us to justice, that could dismantle the system of white supremacy, that could give us equality, and it was proven to work, then I'm going to be the first one on board. But let me help you out if you're one of these people that are saying, okay, I'm not voting, but I'm just going to sit here and let the house burn down. Well, there are other things you can do. So I'm going to give you a get out of jail free card here for a minute. How about let's look at some non-electoral tools for achieving justice if you just happen to be somebody who just disillusioned by this process called voting and elections. Well, there's the economic power. And I've heard some people come on this show and they've pulled that lever. And I say more power to you. I am not mad at you. I still wish you vote because it takes more than, it's not just one tool that's going to dismantle this system and deliver justice. But you can buy collectively, bank collectively, build collectively. So if you're not voting, or if you're voting, these are other tools that's going to help us get there. There's community organizing. when you care for each other, take care of each other, you're less dependent on a system that's not working in your best interest. So how about working together, coming together and working together, not just coming together, like Mr. Fuller said, just to be coming together. Come together to do something. Then there's the legal approach you can take. Litigate. History is replete with examples where people have challenged the system. We look at things like the Brown v. Board of Education Voting Rights Act. Brown v. Board and the Voting Rights Act. You can challenge the system. Don't just say, I'm not going to vote. I'm not into this voting and doing nothing. There's local advocacy. Get involved in the city council, the school boards. Sometimes the local approach is faster than that long, torturous process that takes place on the national stage. Legal defense funds, nonprofits. There are ways to get involved. And sometimes, matter of fact, most times, these tools, they complement each other. Don't just check out of the system. We still have to live in this so-called United States. And let's not be so selfish to think that, well, okay, I'm good. But what about our senior citizens? What about our people who are less fortunate? And I'm going to give you a little later on some reasons why we cannot afford to check out the system. Whether we like it or not, this is the system we're in. Now, Mr. Fuller, I can tell he was kind of torn by this process. He talked about it again in his code book. He said he put it in the form of a question on page 254. What's the correct thing to say when someone says that trying to end racism is not as important as doing other things? And he came back and answered his own questions. He said, speaking and or acting with intentions of ending racism is necessary in order to give constructive meaning to any of the following activities. And he listed about 12 activities. Things like attending church, being a lawmaker, being a success, celebrating, partying, sexual intercourse, talking about justice. But he also said voting. He said voting is also one of those things that to give constructive meaning to voting, you couple it with trying to end racism and white supremacy. Once again, by itself, voting might seem impotent to some people. But Mr. Fuller also told us to be logical. Apply logic. Yes, sometimes voting for one party versus another is like voting for different forms of mistreatment. But keep asking yourself, what is the alternative? And we invite you to join the conversation. I'm going to drop we'll drop the feed in the chat, and you can join us. We're also talking about if you're not going to vote, I just know you got more time, you got energy, you got ideas, and you're just going to be tearing it up in other areas. I'm more concerned about the end than the means. I believe that the voting is one way to get there, to get equality and empowerment and justice. It's an imperfect system, but there are other ways. There's education. If you're not voting, what are you doing in the education arena? Are you helping shape the perception and policy? Are you building independent media, podcasts, documentaries to counter some of this misinformation that's out here? Creating film and art to counter what's being thrown our direction. So there are other ways to approach this. Okay, so not everybody wants to vote. That is your prerogative, your right. But what else are you doing? Go ahead, Mr. Bobby. Cause I'm warming up over here.
Okay, I'm from the chat. Sent Walking Ghazi said this. What does the logic say about given choice between two forms of mistreatment? Also, how does one affect change with a stacked deck? And then he says this is something non voters can do to be work on self health, working on keeping your community clean, safe, stable. Grassroots work can be vote. Yes, it's not voting. Check it out. Then Black Tony said this, a little bit off the subject, but Black Tony said this, talking about the shutdown, said this, quote, they ain't slick. This government shutdown will end soon. And why? Because the money surrounding Christmas. Corporate, because of the wickedness, has not lost any money in the shutdown because they have bought, now this is what he said in capital letters, insurance to protect themselves against it. They plan for everything. So the revenue generated for Christmas season is next. And they are not going to miss that because they know that very little money is generated from Halloween and Thanksgiving sales. It would not surprise me if the date for the shutdown has already been set. Film at 11. Okay, Black Tony.
I love the interaction. I love I love the fact that you're on top. The listeners, our followers, they're not just sitting by, they're thinking, they're being logical. And somebody did put the question about what's the logic of choosing between two systems of mistreatment. Well, this is where logic actually comes in. You have to look at where you are, look at where you're trying to go. And you have to realize at some point that maybe the systems are fluid. One time you may find out that this group that you vote for may be more in tune with your interests than another group. There is no person under this sun, and there is no system under this sun. There is no party under this sun. There is no red, blue, green, or color under this sun that's going to serve every interest of everybody. That deserves to be restated. Nothing, nobody, no system is going to serve everybody, and particularly not your individual interests. But life and practically everything in it is a matter of degree. One person or party may decide to hurt you, another one may decide to kill you. I'm going to choose the one that may hurt me. At least I live to fight another day versus the one that decides to kill me. So you have to be a logical thinking person and choose the lesser form of mistreatment. There is no parity or equality or between the different parties and the systems. And you know that. Pick the one that's going to hurt you the least and give you a fighting chance to continue to work on the system. So that's, to me, how you apply the logic when you're talking about a system. You're voting for different forms of mistreatment. You get mistreated on the job, but you're not going to quit. If they're paying you well enough, you get mistreated in your relationships with your spouse, your husband. But does that mean you check out? No. Sometimes you have to find another system or another person or another job that may mistreat you as well. So you find yourself choosing a person, a job, an opportunity that mistreats you the less or treats you the best. It doesn't mean you throw up your hands and say, I'm just going to check out of the system altogether. Logic. Mr. Fuller says apply logic. Now, one thing that came up, somebody called into Mr. Fuller's, calling to his show, the Neely Fuller show, a few years ago, and he brought up this term, next election Negroes. They were saying pretty much how some people pretty much make it sound like your hair's on fire, and that if you don't do this, the world's going to come to an end. It's the end of democracy. We're going to be back in slavery. So Mr. Fuller addressed this in one of his videos. Let's listen to Mr. Fuller quickly.
What I was saying that I coined in a barber shop when I was about 12, 13 years old, back in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I was sitting in a barber shop, and we just had an election, because the barbers and the other elderly people who were in there, mostly elderly, were talking about the election that had been held maybe about 3 or 4 days prior to that day when I was sitting there in the barber shop back in the many decades ago. I think I was around 13 years ago. I was 13 years old. And so I said to one of the persons about my age, I said, listen to this, because we were talking about listening to the old people talk. And we said, now we just had an election. They're already talking about the next election. I say they do this year after year after year. Well, next election, then the next election, we're going to get rid of that bunch that's in there now and get somebody in there going to really do something. Because, and on and on and on. And I was implying at that time, since the caller is asking, what did that mean? I say, well, I don't know, but I know what I'm hearing. I'm just hearing that, hey, maybe the next election miracles will happen. And then after that election, another miracle will happen. And all of that, every election, just around the corner, a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, something will happen to make my circumstances better. And so I coined the phrase for next election Negroes. I said, oh, here we go, some more next election Negroes. So in answer to the question, unless there's something else associated with that question, that's what I meant at the time. Now, I kind of consider that as name calling, or could be, so I don't do that. I don't, I'm saying, just like I started off this morning's program, I wasn't in any way what you call codified back in those days. I was 13 years old. But I'm just saying, let's just stop using labels of any kind when it comes to people and say we got people have problems. Whomever the people are. What's the best way to solve the problem of each and every person?
What's the best way to solve the problem of each and every person? Now, is that to vote? Mr. Fuller was somewhat, I don't want to say chastising, but he was pointing out that, yes, some people are going to come along around voting time and just scare you to death. That if you don't vote, the world's going to end. Well, I mean, sometimes you look at the situation right now, you start to believe maybe there's some truth to that. Look at the state of the country right now. Will voting have made a difference? Well, maybe not, but are you doing some of these other things we're talking about? Are you educating? Are you building your community? Are you buying from the people in your community? Are you supporting the people in your community? Other things that you could be doing. Don't just throw voting out the window and not replace it with something. It's one of the most powerful levers that we have right now. There are others like protests, peaceful demonstrations, marches. Some people are going to say, well, that doesn't work either. There is no shortage of saying things that don't work. But movements have made a difference over the years. Movements abolish slavery. We've seen things more recently like Black Lives Matter and people that have taken to the streets to try to do something. You might not like their methods. You might not like their agenda, but you have to do something if you're trying to get justice and equality. You just can't throw out, say, well, that didn't work. It's not going to work. You have to do something. Mr. Bobby.
Yeah, from the chat, the question was, is voting in elections logical? That last, if I said it correctly, said black folks are very logical when it comes to voting. We do not vote logically or strategically whatsoever, and nor do most Americans. He continues, oh, I love that episode where Mr. Fuller spoke about the next generation Negroes. He was spot on with that one. And Stephanie Clark said this: remember, we will have to build your system. We know which way we will move to. Appreciate the chats that people are saying, just to give perspective on what they are saying. Is there anyone, Gates, that wants to come on the show? Do you have that information?
I see A coming in. He's warming up in the room, so we'll bring him on in a second. Very good.
Okay, and then Mr. Fuller was speaking the gospel truth, and unfortunately, most Negroes in this country have yet to take heed. Okay, Gate, I'm out.
And I see somebody say Black Lives Matter is a controlled opposition. They don't speak for the blacks in the streets and the grassroots. Well, that may be true, but the concept of Black Lives Matter is legitimate, where people are trying to take control of their own destiny to affect change. Maybe they vote, maybe they don't, but what they're doing, and sometimes, like I say, sometimes money gets involved in things. And I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss organizational efforts. We look at things like COINTELPRO. People infiltrate these organizations, and we're ready to throw them to the curb when there's a system out here that are determined to make sure that they don't succeed. So what we feel sometimes is a group of people who are maybe corrupt, bending the knee. Sometimes you have to look at this system that you're in. It's a very powerful system. And until you dismantle it, no matter who you put out here, Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, any group that comes out here, if they get any type of progress or traction, believe me, the leaders are going to be indicted. They're going to be charged with some type of corruption. And in many cases, they're going to actually be taken out. So don't let the media decide for you who is affected, who we should follow. Do your own research. And like Mr. Fuller said, be logical. Mr. Biden.
Just mentioned, and I'm glad that you pointed out, COINTELPRO. Many, Gate, don't know what that is, but here it is. COINTELPRO was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, from 1956 to 1971. Its goal was to surveil, infiltrate, discredit, and disrupt American political organizations deemed subversive by the agency. These activities were part of the FBI's counterintelligence efforts under the then director J. Edgar Hoover, who also used illegal surveillance and other tactics to harass, sabotage political descendants. Now, if you think that program ended, Gate, listen. Yeah, oh yeah, okay, I know you don't, but listen. There's a program out right now. It's named I want to say Secaucus, but that's New Jersey. Um, I just printed it the other day, but it's oh, I tell you what. When I get the name of it again, I'll point to you so you can call me back, so I can get the name out to the people, because this is what they are doing right now. So let me get that information and then hit me back up.
All right, Mr. Buck. Well, let me reiterate. I'm going down the list. I'm kind of helping everybody out this morning. Some people said the voting is wrong. It doesn't work. It's slow. It's corrupt. It's been usurped, co-opted. Well, I'm giving you some other options because, as I stated in my opening, voting is a tool. It's a means to an end. You don't vote just to vote. You vote, you're trying to get something accomplished. But you have to be logical about it. Yes, it looks like you're voting for different forms of mistreatment A or mistreatment B. Well, I hate to say it, but sometimes it comes down to who's going to mistreat you the least. That's a sad way to look at it, but we have to be logical too. Somebody said elections, we're focusing on national elections. Matter of fact, when I get towards my closing, I'm going to talk about some of the reasons I think that some approaches we can use going forward. But we are talking about other things you can be doing without just sitting around and saying, well, it didn't work. I'm going to get on about my business. You're in a system. So even everything I'm reading, and I've been reading, I'm working down my list here of things, of alternatives, things like economic power, community organizing, legal approaches, education, protests. Any of these approaches, once they become effective, once they start making a difference, they will come under attack, just like voting has come under attack. The reason that you have a government shutdown, the reason that you have gerrymandering, the reason that you have voter suppression, because it was a chosen tool that at some point it was effective. That's why they had to go and take it away and corrupt it and dissuade people from using it. But if we decide tomorrow to pick any of these other approaches or tools in the basket or arrows in the quiver, they too will be co-opted, sabotaged, corrupted. And in some cases, the leaders will be taken out in one form or another. Now we're going to talk about, I'm just going to run another approach is, of course, self-determination and local governance. In other words, you don't have to make everything about the national election, about who's in the White House or who's in the Senate. You can control your local areas, your schools. You can do your own street patrols. Health collective, neighborhood councils. There are things that you can do that can still help us achieve justice and equality. But I'm going to throw this in here. On a national level, where your money is spent, I'm going to tell you the truth. I have a problem. I like my money. I like my resources. I pay taxes. And I'd be damned if I'm going to pay taxes into a system and try not to get a return on my investment. I'm just not going to do it. If I have to vote for no other reason than that, this system requires me to pay taxes. Taxes that's supposed to make me secure, to pave my streets, to educate me, to take care of me when I'm old, to take care of my family, grandma, the affirmed, people that have disabilities. If I put my money in, I'm going to hold you accountable the best way that I can. And for better or worse, right now, voting is the way that you hold people accountable. Mr. Bobby.
Yes, and thank you again, Gate. Going back to what you had said about the COINTELPRO program, and I do hope that many of our listeners and viewers actually look that up. But I had mentioned, and thank you for coming back to me, the program that is now in effect with us right now is called Pegasus. Pegasus spyware program that is on all of our phones. And the devastating thing about that, Gate, is that whether you turn your phone on or off, they can track you. It's a surveillance state. It's going on right now. Don't take Mr. Bobby's word. Look it up. Pegasus. 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 To understand what is going on. Now, how that relates to voting, in a way, it does because they know who you're voting for. They already know this. They listen to you. Yeah, they listen and they know they can check your voting records. I checked mine yesterday, and I was surprised at the information that was out publicly that they can see and determine what types of mail to send me or what. So be aware of that. Pegasus is the program. And then look who sponsored it. Hint, 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 1948. Go ahead.
All right. Let's get some of my let's get some of our listeners in here. Cause I guess because it's election day in many jurisdictions throughout the country. I looked up the other day and I said this another election is upon us. Some people say house on fire, if we don't do this, we're gonna lose our democracy. And as tragic as that may seem, we have to be doing other things too. We have to we can't say all power, almighty power rests in the White House because we've seen how that's working out. So we have to have a multi-pronged approach as we approach this. I'm going to just do a quick review of some of the things I talked about. I'm going to bring in a couple of our followers. So let's talk about quickly some things that you can do beyond voting. If you're so hell bent on I'm not going to vote or voting is wrong, here's some things you can do: economic action, cooperatives, boycotts, buying power, pooling your sources, organizing, grassroots, mutual aid, legal policy work, litigating, local advocacy, direct action such as protest, strike, civil disobedience, and self-determination, community control, and ownership. Don't say I'm not going to vote and I'm not going to do anything. There are other tools. Voting is a means to an end. I'm not going to sit here and twist anybody's arms and put them in a headlock and make them vote, but I'm saying you better do something. And for many people, voting is the low-hanging fruit. All you have to do is register, drive up to the voting booth, pull the lever. Now you can at least say you did something. Maybe economic action is beyond your reach. Maybe you didn't do the legal and advocacy work. Maybe you can't protest. Everybody can vote. Well, it used to be, but what did I say? When you find something that's working, that's irritating the system, they're going to come after it. Let's get A in here. A, I see you. If you're ready to come on the stage, and I see you, Khalif, hang on. Welcome to the show, A.
Good morning. I'm Aaron from Spain.
Hey, Aaron from
Good
Spain.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gates. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. It's a pleasure, as always. I'd like to say that I do agree with the late Neely Fuller, Jr. I think we have to remove emotions because when I've had issues, I've had to go to a local counselor to get things done, and things do get done. In terms of on a national level, I can't really say that things get done in terms of voting, but I did remember last year seeing a meme on the internet, which it goes, and I'm just paraphrasing, the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird. And I think if you kind of look at things from that perspective, you get less emotional. Because if you look at it, the left has always been promoted to the black community in North America and Europe, and the right has always been seen as a racist party. But when you look at both of them objectively, they've done things against the black community in general. So you have to kind of look at what they're bringing to the table, because we are in a prison system. So knowing that every action, every party is about oppression, so it makes more sense rather than getting emotional. I think people focus more so on individuals and not understanding how the system works. I mean, Donald Trump, it's not somebody I would myself vote for, but I think people were voting for him thinking that they were going to get one over at the system. But when all the smoke is cleared, nothing has been done for the black community in North America. And you're seeing right now, black people are being attacked and targeted in different ways and being affected by policies. So, and the same goes for the left. For example, I think a lot of black people around the world, North America and Europe, were really elated when Obama came into office. However, retrospectively, when we look back and we talk about what specific policies were done for black people in North America, it's yeah, yeah, there's not a lot that can be said. So I just wanted to put that down, that there is no left, there is no right, there's no independent. It's a whole system that's
It's a
attacking
system.
us. But
It's a
on a
system.
local level, if you remove your emotions and say, okay, I don't care about either party, but I need something done, you should speak to somebody. Otherwise, you'll just be frustrated. That's for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, from Spain. That's very profound. Thank you very much, brother. Khalif, what say you, brother?
Well, I'm just gonna tell people, hello, Mr. Bobby. I've been sending you some stuff, but and don't mind the West Virginia hat. This is just something to keep me warm. I helped my brother move his mother-in-law when his father-in-law passed, and she gave me a big box of stuff. I'm still Buckeye, so it's just keeping my head warm today. But anyway, I just tell people to get involved, whether you vote or not. Me, I don't vote. Mr. Gate, I heard you say some things that I don't necessarily agree with, but you said what you said. You made the statement that basically support the people that's going to harm you less. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And you also said if it's a good job and they treat you bad, you're not going to leave your job. No, first of all, you have to understand the system in order to, you can get people, if people just get involved daily. The Black Lives Matter thing, I don't know about that. I hear the FBI is investigating them. Now, first of all, we should be the last people that want to make a big splash. You could do things quietly. That's why the Black Panthers was infiltrated. Sometimes, hey, when the people that's really running things, why do you never see them? They talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Hell, Epstein Island been around for thousands of years. And Epstein was just the middleman. Why you never see the people at the top? And you got to understand, this government shutdown and these SNAP benefits, they knew this was coming a long time ago. It has nothing to do. All this is that they want to keep anarchy going so that we can be against each other. We can fight each other. You see people in the store stealing. So now they can create new surveillance, new laws, voting. And as a matter of fact, when Bernie Sanders was running for office and people thought that he got railroaded, it went to court. The federal court said, because the Democratic Party is a private corporation they can basically manipulate the rules and laws anytime they want. And the same thing, there's no Republican Party, no Democratic Party. I keep telling people, like when my son was young, I didn't teach him Christmas. I didn't tell him about Jesus. I didn't tell him about Thanksgiving. When he first learned how to read, the first few things he got was the dictionary, finance, and investment terms. I taught him about fractional reserve banking, and also the Federal Reserve put out something called modern money mechanics. Your lives are governed by two things on this planet while you living: laws and money. Anything in between there is just a given. Now, people want to go out and vote. It's okay, but you still got to get involved. I have never voted one day in my life, but I'm able to get things done through the mayors. I'm in a crusade right now. I wrote the governor of Ohio, the lieutenant governor. I wrote the attorney general. I've been in council meetings. I'm in a crusade right now to stop all these smoke and vape shops from hitting our area, because now I got some of my younger relatives that's starting to having throat problems. My nephew got throat cancer. So like Mr. Gates said, get involved, but I'm not under the illusion that my vote gonna get me anything. If anything, vote in your own family, change your family's disposition in the next 2 generations. Now you can get involved without voting. And also, Mr. Gate, I heard you talk about taxes. Have you ever read, and you're probably a little older than I am, but have you ever read when Ronald Reagan was in office, he wanted to know why there was so much fraud, waste, and abuse in the government. So there was a guy that wrote, he did a whole report. And in that report, you know what it said? 100% of your taxpayers' dollars go out to pay the federal debt before any services are rendered. And I will put it in the chat, or I'll send you an email. This guy, his name was Peter J. Grace. So if you don't learn something, but you keep telling people to do something that don't work, we got to teach our children about, first of all, go back to how this system started with mercantilism and bartering. I don't live my life by money. I can make money any day, but we have to learn and then if you read some of the books that Claude Anderson wrote, see, voting is about what you're going to do for me. What am I going to do for you? What is that called? Y'all know what it's called. Quid pro quo. Your vote don't do it. Let's say you go into your mayor's office and you want some vacant land that's been sitting next door to you, but you know this Walmart come in and get it, or somebody else come in and get it. If you walk in your mayor's office and say, here, I'm gonna leave this envelope with you. We don't have to talk about it, but I expect to have that land. Or the people that went out and voted. No, this ain't got nothing to do. Even Mark Twain said if voting actually mattered, they wouldn't allow you to do it. And like the gentleman said before me, this is a whole entire system. But if we don't learn, if you don't read, like for instance, these parents now, what's the first thing they do to their kids to keep their kids busy? Well, I'm gonna give you my cell phone. Go watch Barney. Go play this game. Go play that game. These people study us, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Gates, just like Neely. We don't study nobody. We prepare for the weekend. They prepare for how they're gonna rule the world for the next 1,000 years. So when you say support the people that's gonna treat you okay, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna leave my abusive wife, but I'm gonna go to a less abusive wife. Come on now, that makes no sense at all. We need to start learning and reading.
You have to have a wife. But you have to have a system. You use it that's not a good analogy, because you have to have some type of governing system, or we're gonna have anarchy. You can leave a wife, but you can't leave this system. Can you check out of this system tomorrow? No, you can't. You paying you driving on the roads, you shopping in the grocery stores, you stopping at the red lights. You're in a system. You cannot check out of this system arbitrarily. You can walk away from that wife.
I'm not saying.
Can you walk away from this system tomorrow? No, you can't. You're in it. So you have to find a way.
I'm not saying, but guess what? But you can you can get, like me, for instance, when I retired from the government in the Navy, I don't use a social security number. I put everything in the trust and my EIN. And then we went back to our native status. My sons and I, we don't pay taxes. And we working to live off the grid. And I'm trying to teach other people. So yes, you can be a part of the system, but our vote is not going to get it as long as if we unite. First of all, we're doomed. They say by 2050, our so-called melanated folks, what y'all call black, our net worth is going to be zero because we do everything that's inappropriate. Yeah, you can be within even the so-called Caucasians, they think they got it going on, but they don't. They just bigger slaves in a plantation because they think that they got the complexion for the protection. But they pay taxes, they pay mortgages, they pay car notes, but they're not technically a mortgage. It's called an asset-backed security. So yes, you can be a part of the system, but if you learn how they set the system up, you can manipulate a little better in this system. Then I just think that we have to educate each other more. But to tell me that I got to go with the person that treat me the less, no, I ain't doing that because we all get treated bad. We all get treated bad.
You're gonna get the person whether you choose them or not. That's the problem. You're gonna get somebody. If you have any power or any say to choose that person, then I think you should use that lever. But whether the person is good, bad, or indifferent, somebody's going to run this country. Somebody's going to control your local jurisdiction. Do you want to say in that? Now, everybody doesn't have the resources or the background or the education that you have. We have to give people something to empower them, as imperfect as it may be. I've routed off quite a few options: education, protest, economic, community involvement. There are other ways to do it. Voting is one of them. And if you collectively, you pool that with some of these other tools, then yes, you can have some sense of empowerment, as imperfect as it may be. Khalif, I don't want to cut the show and I will invite you back, but we're going to have to be right at the end of the hour.
But
here.
See, and then and then I got to ask you a couple more questions, just like I used to do with Mr. Fuller. First of all, these conversations we having, and I know it's only an hour, but you can't move on. Like if you say education, my question to you is, well, what's so different? Mr. Bobby tell you. I used to ask Mr. Fuller. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you forgot to ask. Well, because I'm gonna ask you, what's your definition of economics? But see, that's a whole nother show. Because see, you can't just tell me economics, voting, but not give me your definition of that because people are listening.
Well, but what I do, we have a show every week.
But I do like that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you getting me in because I didn't really have the time to come in today, but I've been missing the shows. But see, you can't just tell me that in education, but not tell me what that is. You can't tell me black and not tell me what that is because I don't know what that means unless you tell me.
Well, we could do another 24 hours and still not cover every topic. So that's why we pick topics. Today we're talking about elections and voting. And of course, there's going to be some concentricity. Some of these areas are going to overlap, but we can't get into a deep dive on every topic on every show when we only have an hour. I say come back next week and we'll pick another topic. But I appreciate your time, brother.
Yeah,
you're welcome anytime.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Was that a revocable or irrevocable trust?
The irrevocable trust.
What, revocable or irrevocable?
I'm not.
He's still there? All right.
Hold on. All right, Mr. Bobby, we are at the end of the show.
Okay.
What we may have to do is bring up bring this topic back. We brought up a topic today that has many legs and arms, and there is no way. I really appreciate Khalif and his insight. I like a good conversation. As good as the next person, I just wish we had more time today to cover this topic more, because I do have what I do want to do is go out. I want to give Mr. Fuller's take on voting. Mr. Fuller was not a person to run from any topic. So somebody asked Mr. Fuller about voting. Let's bring up Mr. Fuller's what he thought about voting in elections.
Is it logical, according to universal logic, is it logical to vote in the United States election?
Yes, I do it. So I have to say it. I mean, one thing you can't stand from Neely Fuller is just to add to the list of hypocrites. And it's something I learned from a black sergeant in Wajima, Japan, back in the 1950s. And he said, Fuller, you talk all this philosophy and all like that. He says, but when it comes to some things, like satisfying wants, he says a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And so I thought about that. It rang a bell with me. And it kind of stuck with me. So when I look at the elections and all like that, man, in my opinion, I'm going to tell the world, everything about them, every election everywhere so far has been shabby. Every last one of them. Just as shabby as they can be. I don't care what so-called party you belong to or what nation you're in. I mean, this is terrible.
Okay.
All of it. But you do the best you can with what you got. That's what Thurgood Marshall said. That's how he wanted to be remembered. I did the best that I could with what I had.
Well, for anybody who's wondering what Mr. Fuller felt about the topic, he said a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And I did the best with what I had. Now, for better or worse, however you may feel about voting, we are a people of various resources, various beliefs, various backgrounds, various levels of knowledge. You have to make a decision at some point. If you're going to be in this system, what are you going to do? Everybody can't do the same thing. Everybody's not built the same. But there are some things about voting. I vote. I vote in every election, but I do other things too. I'm under no illusions about the power of my vote. I might go into this with my eyes wide open. But voting does shape who writes and enforces the rules, more so on a local level than on the national level. But there is some impact. There's been some gains made throughout the years when voting did matter. So we have to protect some of those gains. Sorry about that. So we have to protect some of those gains. Representation does create some type of visibility. And like I'm saying, there is no perfect system. I mean, I'm not that naive. Hold on a second. But like Mr. Fuller said, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. You do the best you can. Also remember that local elections do have some immediate impact. Some people say that all elections are local. That's where you're going to have the most impact on things that's going to impact your daily life. Remember this also. Voting is one tool among many. I started this show off and I spent considerable amount of time explaining. At the beginning of the show, you might have thought I was against voting. No, what I was doing was being logical. I understand that people are disillusioned. I understand that people know that there are limits. I understand that people know that there's money involved. It's been co-opted. It's been corrupted. I understand that it's slow. People want to see immediate change. And I understand that there's been a historic betrayal against non-white people. I know this, but I'm a pragmatist. You have to meet people where they are. Everybody didn't have a $500,000 sitting in the bank. Everybody didn't have the power to go into high-level offices and corner mayors and tell them what they need to do. But you must get people involved. It's called empowerment. If voting does nothing more than empower people and get them off their behind, off their couch, then to me, it has served its purpose. So what I'm going to say in the end, voting is a tool. Justice, empowerment, equality is the goal. We need to combine these different approaches. You do what works for you. The next person does what they do. We collectively pool them. And one day we might dismantle this system of racism. Mr. Bobby, let me get you back up here.
Yes, we in producejustice.com.
All right, folks, thanks again. This is the Neely Fuller's Produce Justice. I'm going to go out with one more video by Mr. Fuller. This will be our last word today. But Mr. Fuller, I can almost hear him shaking his head on this last video. He is feeling some of the frustration that I feel. Khalif, Aaron from Spain, many people who put in comments today. We're in this system. It pulls the strings. If you're in this system, you're not exempt. You may think so. You may have some power, but if the system decides tomorrow to end that power, so that's why we have to collectively approach this. Voting is one way to rally the wills to achieve a desired end, imperfect as it may be. Let's go out on this last video by Mr. Fuller.
This is what I'm advocating. Everyone on the planet Earth to calm down or calm up, or whichever way you want to call it. Just be calm and focus primarily on just problem solving and the best way to go about solving a problem that has to do with people. So there's a lot of labels being thrown around. Lots of labels. Just more and more labels of all kinds. Democrat, Republican, fascist. Just labels. And I'm saying, in thinking about that and listening to it, all kinds of labels, left wing, right wing, independent, middle of the road. And I'm saying, you can keep these labels around because they're going to be around. But the label to focus on is people. Like in the Constitution of the United States preamble. We, the people. So I asked myself, and I've been thinking about, everybody just say to themselves and to others, am I a person? P-E-R per son. Son of a person, or whatever that's supposed to mean. What is a person? Am I a person? Well, I have assumed that I am. I have many titles. Looks like everybody has at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 dozen titles. Dozens of titles. Every person has dozens of titles. Well, I'm a lifelong Democrat. Well, I'm a lifelong Republican. Let's fight. Wait a minute. You say you're what in the beginning? I'm a person. Okay, let's hold it right there. Just be that. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time.